won 16-10. I'm in the room that Tom Brady made famous. The engineering guys here at Levi's Stadium said, yes, do your instant reactions from the engineering room at Levi's Stadium. Hell yeah, that's what we're going to do. 49ers win their first preseason game. The result doesn't really matter. I thought that we saw a lot of interesting performances from guys on the roster bubble, both trying to make the 53-man roster and probably some more realistic practice squad players. But we have to start with the story that everybody's going to be trying to make a story. It's really a non-story, but Brock Purdy's 11 plays for the 49ers. If anyone is trying to pass judgment on Brock Purdy, and the internet's idiotic enough to make this a thing, but if anybody is trying to pass judgment on Brock Purdy based on a preseason game, it is a clear sign that they do not know what they're talking about. Brock Purdy played for the 49ers today because Kyle Shanahan, I'm sure he'll say it right now, and Purdy will probably say it in the locker room too once I get there, but they wanted to get some of the center quarterback cohesion down. They wanted to get some of the rust off before the start of the regular season. You could only do that at full speed in an actual game when you actually have a game to play. So that was the opportunity that the 49ers had today. They didn't want to keep Purdy out there all too long because you saw that the line in front of him was giving a lot of problems and the receivers weren't generating much separation. He was only playing with a couple starters. So I think it was Jalen Moore who gave up a bad pressure early on. Purdy might have gotten hit 2 or 3 times. Would they have liked to see some more rhythm early on? Of course they would have, but this was more about the protections and the rapport with the center at the line of scrimmage. Remember that Jake Brendel has actually missed a few practices over the course of this training camp as he deals with knee tendonitis. So the quarterback center battery, which is so important to get right, especially in this Kyle Shanahan system, but just football in general. 49ers haven't had as many reps as they've wanted to in practice, so they were able to get about 10 reps today in this game. 10 was the plan for Brock Purdy, and they were only able to get to 10 or 11 through 3 drives, which, of course, wasn't ideal for the 49ers. I think they would have rather have liked to see one crisp drive, and that was it. Then they could move on to the other quarterbacks, but just the way that things shook out in this game today. Josh Dobbs then came in the second quarter and threw 21 passes. That tied an NFL record for the amount of passes in the second quarter in the preseason. 21 passes, that'd be an 84 pass pace for a full game. And he also ran for 25 yards, including that really impressive touchdown for the 49ers. So we saw Josh Dobbs, I think, we talk about the quarterback 2 battle for San Francisco right now. They really like Brandon Allen. Josh Dobbs is somebody who has to do more proving of himself just because he hasn't been in the system yet. And Brandon Allen was in it last year. But between, last week and this week, we've seen so many athletic, gutsy plays from Josh Dobbs. So I feel that you look at his ability to extend out of structure, I absolutely think that that is a big positive to potentially have at QB2. The 49ers have a few options in front of them, and this will all be sorted out after the 3rd preseason game against the Raiders next week. One of the options is to just carry 3 quarterbacks, because Allen wasn't bad today either. He was 7 of 10 in the 3rd quarter. Then Tanner Mordecai, I told you guys earlier in training camp that Tanner Mordecai has a strong arm. He got to show that off in the 4th quarter today. But, after this 3rd preseason game on Friday against the Raiders, I think the 49ers are going to circle the wagons, and they're going to scout, and they're already talking about this right now, but they're going to evaluate what the rest of the league might do. There are coaches around the league that like Brandon Allen. There are coaches around the league that like Josh Dobbs, and you have to see what the situation quarterback-wise is around the NFL, and they'll decide which quarterbacks they want to protect on their 53-man roster. I think with the physical upside that we've seen with Dobbs, and he did throw 21 times today, which shows that the 49ers were definitely looking to test how well he was processing within the structure of Kyle Shanahan's offense. I mean, 21 throws in 15 minutes is a lot. But with the physical upside that he's shown, and I think some of the impressive arm talent that he's shown for the 49ers, if Kyle Shanahan deems that he has adequately displayed command of the offense, and Kyle's going to be looking to see how Dobbs read the progressions. I know the fans love the running, but it's going to be more about operating within the offense. And I think he's probably going to be your QB2. If they believe that Josh Allen won't get poached by somebody else, they could have him on the practice squad as the QB3. That being said, there's a chance somebody else picks up Brandon Allen, and you might not want to leave yourself exposed to that possibility. So if that's the case, they might carry 3 quarterbacks on the 53, but that's tougher because that takes up a roster spot. And there were a lot of guys battling for roster spots. There's a lot of good players on this football team that I'm going to talk about in this game today, starting with Jacob Cowing. 4 catches for Jacob Cowing, 51 yards, including a beautiful reception from Josh Dobbs. It was on the pump and go today, right? Jacob Cowing, I've talked about him a lot. He's a rookie. He's a 4th-round pick for the 49ers who had the fastest 5-yard split time out of all receivers in this NFL Combine. He got up to over 15 miles an hour in the first 5 yards of the 40-yard dash. So the pump and go that we saw from Josh Dobbs to Jacob Cowing is actually perfect because he could really, really accelerate after that initial fake and generate some separation as he did on that nice play for the 49ers today. You know, they had Ray McLeod in the Jacob Cowing role last year, punt returner, and that's what Cowing was working at today. Somebody who was a gadget weapon on offense. I think Cowing's a little bit faster, and Ray McLeod, more burst at least, and Ray McLeod wasn't slow, that's for sure. And Cowing also might be a little bit more full of frame than Ray McLeod. A little bit thicker, which obviously can allow for a little bit more versatility of usage in the NFL. Cam Latu was interesting today. He made several catches, but he also dropped a couple passes. That's been an issue for Cam Latu over the course of his career. They love his frame blocking-wise, but he's got to continue developing as a receiver if he's going to stick around this building. Next week might be a big one, Friday against the Raiders for Cam Latu, who is trying for that 4th and final tight end spot. Today we saw Braden Willis start the game as the fullback. They obviously didn't play Kyle Juszczyk. He caught a pass there from Brock Purdy. We've seen Jake Tonjes and we've seen Braden Willis now play in that backup fullback role that Ross Dwelly used to hold. And, you know, they're looking for roster utility, right? They only have 53 slots here, so you've got to be able to perform multiple roles if you're one of the final guys on that roster. I think Willis is going to make it. Tonjes has shown through some of this training camp action when he has performed at that fullback position, he's at least making a bid to stay on this team, either on the 53-man roster or on the practice squad, and we'll see about Cam Latu. Matt Breida today. I like the catch that he made on the wheel route coming out of the backfield from Josh Dobbs. Breida, though, it was mainly cleanup duty for him over the second half of this game. MVP for the 49ers of the game, of the win, considering the fact they won this 16-10. Don't forget, that's important for some of those guys in the locker room, some of the guys that are fighting for a roster spot. But the punter, Presley Harvin III, Mitch Wishnowsky's dealing with some knee irritation right now. So, he's obviously not kicking, and they've got Harvin downing opponents inside the 20-yard line 4 times in one half. He punted for the Pittsburgh Steelers in recent seasons. They cut him, and nobody had picked him up. This is a guy who won the Ray Guy Award, which goes to the best punter in the nation back in college at Georgia Tech, where he was a teammate with Jordan Mason. What if the 49ers are able to trade Presley Harvin III for a 7th-round pick at the roster cut down if somebody needs a punter? That would be quite the win for the 49ers because they picked him up for nothing. They're just paying him the veteran minimum, non-guaranteed. Defensive side of the ball, I thought Renardo Green made a really nice pass breakup on an out pattern in the first half, and that was with Derek Carr was still in at quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Carr threw it a little bit late. Renardo Green pounced. I thought the technique was really good on the play. We didn't have D. Winters to cover today because he's dealing with a minor injury for the 49ers. And speaking of Mason, I think it's something minor that kept him out of this game as well. Thought a nice tackle for loss early on for Jair Brown. And then in the stretch run of this game when the 49ers were holding that 6-point lead and you had a bunch of guys out on the field who were, what's up guys? Thanks guys. I'm in the room that Tom Brady made famous. Everybody's walking by in the tunnel. I don't know if you could hear him on the mic, but Tom Brady actually walked by like 2 or 3 minutes ago out the hallway. I was talking about Darrell Luter Jr. He came along at the end when the 49ers were up by 6 and they needed to hold on to the lead. And what happened there was he gave up a catch on one of the third downs, or well, I think it was the fourth down, but then it was Darrell Luter Jr. and Taylor Hawkins, the second-year safety, coming over the top to seal the win for the 49ers on the fourth down. You know, so much developmental stuff late in this game, but again, those guys, I've talked about it so much in the previews of these games. These guys are going to be important for the 49ers down uh, maybe even down the stretch of the season. You might need a guy like Darrell Luter Jr., but for sure moving forward into the future with so many cornerbacks on just one-year deals for San Francisco, you have to start developing the guys for the seasons beyond now, which is why I think that Renardo Green and Darrell Luter Jr. contributing the way that they did was important for the 49ers today. Got Presley Harvin here. Jalen Graham had a nice play in the backfield today for the 49ers. I think he struggled a bit in coverage in this preseason, but it's nice to see him get involved on a more physical level. Curtis Robinson, special teams ace, Stanford product, had several nice plays defensively, and so did Jalen Mahoney, the undrafted free agent safety out of Vanderbilt with a tackle for loss. You know, one of the big wins that I thought the 49ers had in the first half, Yetur Gross-Matos, their defensive end acquisition, beat left tackle clean on one of those plays. I'm going to go through all of this, obviously, in my film breakdown, and we'll have a much more composed reaction to the game. But I just wanted to rattle off some of what I saw, naked eye kind of stuff early in this game. So I'm off to the 49ers locker room. This is the equipment room. Over the course of the season, we're going to give you guys really good instant reactions from 49ers home games from this room. The room that Tom Brady made famous, and Tom Brady was actually in the building today. But remember, Josh Dobbs, really good today, making his case for QB2, but the decision for QB2 is going to be way more complicated than what fans see in quarterbacks running, even though that was awesome from Josh Dobbs. Kyle Shanahan is going to break down that tape, and remember, anytime that you see somebody trying to judge Brock Purdy based off a preseason game, they are just telling you that they do not know what they're talking about. We'll talk to you soon.